Beautiful, beautiful spring evening on March 26th, 2024, and we will call the City Council meeting to order. If you will all stand with me, please, we'll have a prayer and the pledge. Lord, we come to you with heavy hearts tonight. We had an accident this weekend, and we lost one of our young people. We always ask, Lord, why? Why do these things happen? And only you know that answer. Help us, Lord, to know what to say, what to do with those who are directly involved. Help us to reach out to Aiden's family, her friends, her teachers, her classmates who are hurting. Help us to find ways to help them, and help us to let them know that we love them. And in whatever way, Lord, and however you can do that, help them to feel your love. And it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Stuart, you have some announcements for us.
We have three announcements tonight, Mayor, and not surprisingly, two of them are related to the eclipse.
It's
First of
coming,
all,
right?
I'm sorry?
It's coming.
Coming in 13 days now. So I think we're all ready for it. First one is about the planetarium returning to the library. This is always a lot of fun. I don't know how many of y'all got to make it out last year. Actually, it was earlier. No, it was April of last year when we did it the first time. But we set the planetarium up there in the library. This is going to be on Saturday, April the 6th. We'll also have a speaker there that day, Mark Littman. He'll be talking about the eclipse. And then we'll have immersive sessions at the planetarium at 10:15, 11:30, 12:45, 3:15, and 4:30. We encourage you to go online and register for that because they fill up fast. I don't know how many of y'all made tent forts as a kid. When you walk inside there, it takes you right back to that, except that there's a lot of stars on the roof, so, or on the ceiling. So it's a great thing, a lot of fun. We look forward to it. I encourage everybody to go through it at least once. All right, we did mention the eclipse on the 8th. We want to encourage people because there's going to be a lot of traffic once the eclipse is over. A lot of traffic trying to leave, so we encourage everybody to let that group clear out and stick around for the Kerrville Eclipse Festival. We're going to have Judah and the Lion playing, and we'll also have a lot of other things. We'll have food trucks there, product vendors, DJs, boat rentals, crafts, and other activities. So if you want to find out more about that, you can go to Kerrville Eclipse Festival online. But we really would encourage you to let some of that traffic clear out. It'll be a lot easier to move around once that happens. And then finally, we are through two sessions of our first annual Citizens Academy. We've covered government and finance. We have about 14 people in there, so we've got development, water, police and fire, community engagement, parks and library, and recognition to go. Like I said, we have about 14. This is our first class. We've had a great turnout, a lot of interest in it, so we want to encourage people to start thinking about the next class and signing up. It's a great way to learn about the city and all the things that are going on here. We'll also be having field trips starting up soon, so encourage you to get involved in that.
Stuart, do you know when the next class is?
I do not. Guillermo, do you know?
Same time, spring next year.
Spring of next year.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Council, anybody have any announcements they would like to make? We had one fun thing this weekend. The Kerrville Daily Times had organized a volunteer celebration in honor of Volunteer Month, and it was the very first one. They met at the Museum of Western Art, and had over 100 volunteers, and had pictures taken by the drone and celebration. So it was a fun time. We're a community full of volunteers, people with big hearts, and it was a great time to celebrate that, and I think they'll be doing that in the future. So,
Well, and I wanted to add that at last count, Kerr County, I believe, has over 5,300 volunteers So kudos to Kerrville for that.
Yes, yes. And speaking of volunteers, there was another very successful mega food drive at Mount Light on the Hill this weekend, and they always have lots and lots of groups that come and help with that, and lots of people who very much appreciate that. All right, at this time, I think we're going to honor Corbin Lofton. If she and her family and her entourage, she's got a lot of people here with her, if they will come up front, please. Yes, Mom and Dad and we've got other people. How about the CVB? That's where this all happens, so come on up. This is exciting. All right, very good.
Now he's your
All right. The city of Kerrville recognizes Corbin Lofton with the March 26, 2024 Kerrville Kindness Award. Ingram Tom Moore Jr., Corbin Lofton, had a novel idea for welcoming visitors to Kerrville and an entrepreneurial drive that turned her idea into reality. With the Kerrville Convention and Visitors Bureau in mind, Lofton designed a goodie bag for visitors with a nature theme, a welcome to Kerrville greeting, and a snappy slogan, caution, fun inside. Lofton then secured grants to pay for the bags, which feature scavenger hunt ideas along the Guadalupe River Trail, stickers, and pencils. The bags have become popular items at the KCVB. KCVB President Julie Davis has high praise for Lofton's creation. I was simply blown away by both her project and her desire to create something fun and educational to share with our visitors and locals alike, Davis said. And we have Davis right here. The Kerrville Kindness Program is proud to recognize Lofton's achievements, and we excitedly look forward to her future accomplishments as well. So it's signed by council. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I forgot to ask her to bring one of the goodies, and when I mentioned it a little bit ago, she said,
They were all out. They were very popular.
very popular, yes. So, Lofton, tell us, was there something that triggered this, sparked this?
So whenever I first moved to Kerrville, me and my mom, the first thing we did to kind of help me feel like familiar with the town was I did the Hank the Cowdog scavenger hunt. And so whenever I started working at the CVB, we had a bunch of kids come in and they would be like, well, what can we do in Kerrville? And then I kept thinking about the Hank the Cowdog scavenger hunt I did whenever I was their age. So I went online and started looking up grants with the help of my mom. She was a big help to me in all of it. And I found this grant and I wrote and applied. And I knew I wanted to do some sort of scavenger hunt, kind of like what I did, and this is kind of just what came out of it, so.
And it's wonderful. So it's all taken care of by her. And I called you Lofton, and it's horrible. I'm sorry. No, I think it's just so exciting.
Thank
so
you.
What I'd like for everybody to do here, introduce yourselves, tell us how you're involved, and if you have any special words to say. So we'll start down at the end.
I'm Leslie Jones with the Kerrville Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm their Publicity and Communications Manager, and Corbin is coming for my job. I say that lovingly.
I'm Cindy Matthews, the Vice President of the Visitor Center, and I was surprised just as Julie about the bags. My son enjoys it as well, so excited.
And Julie Davis, the President of Convention and Visitors Bureau. But Corbin's been a really great addition and asset. You know, when she applied, the thing I always say about her is when she applied for the job, she had this beautiful cover letter. She had clearly gone and looked up our organization because she referenced things in there. And then she interviewed just as wonderful, if not better, as the adults. and then followed up with a thank you card. So she's on her way to big things. I'm excited to see where she goes. So this is just one snippet of all
Well,
the
and
things
I
she does.
don't think you've mentioned what she does.
She works in the visitor center on the weekends. So we have 2 part-time weekend staff. We're open 7 days a week. And so she and another young lady coordinate their schedules. And so Saturdays 9 to 3, Sundays 11 to 3, you'll find her or Miranda, and they greet the visitors that come in with questions, things to see and do, and all of that. So they really are the front face of the CVB on the weekends for sure. It's really important. So, and she does great.
Mom?
A mom. I'm really proud of her. She participated in Kayla last year, and then came back from that. Had gone to Amarillo, I think, and done a leadership thing there, and she really loves Kerrville, and so it's been really fun watching her try to implement different things in order to grow her leadership skills in the town. So it's fun.
And I'm dad in what she says.
And over here?
Catherine Boyette, Community Arts Program. Again, just echo what everyone else was saying. I'm totally impressed by your professionalism and your dedication to serving our community, and our family love the Nature Kits, and we love being outside.
First-hand experience. That's great. That's great. Well, we wish we had one to show you, but as she said, they're all gone. So you'll just have to go to the CVB and check them out. So, well, we are so proud of you. What's in the future?
So right now, since I'm just a junior, I'm starting to explore what I want to do, but I know I want to work in the communications field, hopefully with Carnival Cruise Line. I want to be cruise director, but we'll just have to see. I'm hoping to study at, right now I kind of have 4 colleges, Rice, Tech, TCU, and UT, and I'm kind of looking at studying at one of those.
All right, well, I think they probably want some pictures. And do we need to scooch in? Can you get everybody?
I can. 1, 2, and 3. One more. Thank you.
Okay. Turn around, shake a council member's hand. We're not done.
Hi, how are you?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mom, Dad, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You guys do a great job. We appreciate you. And Mom and Dad, you've done good.
Thank you.
You've done good. All right, we've got more. Habitat, yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, if our Habitat people will come up and join me. Come on, Posse. That's all of you.
I've got a big bus.
I should be a
Long time ago. Okay.
We've got room for everybody.
Hey, Shirley. Right here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about volunteers a little bit ago. Here they are. All right, thank you all for being with us. City of Kerrville proclamation. Whereas Habitat for Humanity, Kerr County, has been an invaluable asset to our community for the past 35 years, tirelessly working towards providing attainable housing and empowering families to achieve financial stability. And whereas on June 5th, 1990, Habitat Kerr County dedicated its first attainable home, marking the beginning of a remarkable journey to address housing needs in Kerr County. Habitat Kerr County has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to its mission by constructing 125 homes, providing a stable foundation for families to thrive. And whereas, through their decision, Habitat Kerr County has empowered 438 community members to reach financial stability through attainable home ownership, and has diligently offered financial education and homeowner classes. The organization's measurements of over 70 affordable home mortgages reflects their ongoing commitment to supporting families even in times of financial challenges. And whereas the establishment of the Habitat Restore has provided affordable options for home improvement and contributed significantly to Habitat's operational sustainability. Habitat Kerr County's 2 phases of the Ma Jennings community were completed in honor of the Habitat for Humanity founders, Ma Jennings, Burley Burleson, and former Mayor Bill Blackburn. And whereas the recent acquisition of 8.5 acres to build the first Habitat hybrid community incorporating both traditional Habitat homes and workforce housing demonstrates their ability to address the evolving needs of Kerrville's workforce. And whereas the collaborative spirit of Habitat Kerr County is evident through their partnership with over 21,000 community volunteers, hundreds of community leaders serving on the Habitat of Humanity Board of Directors, highlighting their commitment to inclusivity and community engagement. Now, therefore be it proclaimed that Habitat for Humanity, Kerr County, be celebrated on its 35th year of outstanding service to our community. And it's signed by me. You guys to do all you do, right? So, no, this is, you guys are just outstanding, and I was a very integral part of this board for a while, and just absolutely loved it, and just want to congratulate you on all that you're doing. Let's start down at the other end. We need to know who you are. Yeah, you're the last one there, Tom. And tell us who you are, how long you've been with Habitat, and how you're related.
My name is Tom Junkin. I'm the construction manager at Habitat. Been there for almost 7 years now, and very proud to say so.
I'm Peter Lewis. I'm a board member. This is my 2nd year on the board.
Debbie Calkins, I'm the office manager. I've been there for almost 4 years. It's my most favorite job.
My name is Brent Hunter. During the day, I'm vice president at James Avery, and my true passion is being on the board. I've been the board president for the last 5 years.
I'm Charlene Spalding. I've been involved with Habitat about 7 years, and my idea is to honor my husband who believed in this program very, very much, and it's a great pleasure, but just don't forget that we could never accomplish anything without all the volunteers.
And Charlene, you supported 3 houses?
A little more than that.
A little more than that. Thank you.
I'm Michelle McGinnis, and I'm here to honor my dad, which was a member with Habitat from when it started till when he passed away in 2006. And my mom was also on the board and has sponsored a few houses as well.
My name is Tom Tuft. I'm the assistant manager at Habitat Restore. I've been with Habitat almost 2 years now, and it's the best job I've ever had.
And Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, come and see us at the Restore. We got a deal for you.
And tell them where it is.
It's on Goat Creek Cutoff.
Yes.
Know where it is.
I'm John Mallory. I've been involved in the Kerrville area for about 9 years on here, and I was on the board for 6 years. And this is obviously you can tell by these people, it's a passion, and we're in it for the long haul.
I'm Mary Ellen Summerlin. I was on the board 10, 15 years ago for 2 terms and served as president a couple terms too.
I'm Bailey Parks. I'm the Community Engagement Manager, and I've been with Habitat for 6 months. And I'm thankful to be working with such an incredible organization.
I'm Mary Kim Penna, and I'm the current executive director, riding Phillips' coattails. I've been here about 20 minutes. Year and a half, and I'm just humbled and honored to have such an incredible organization and mission to work for.
Philip Stacy, I was the executive director for about 7 years. Like Ms. Spalding said, I mean, it takes a lot of people to do that, and I think about 5 years ago, the Chamber of Commerce did our volunteers as the volunteers of the year. 21,000 volunteers. And it was this guy's mom who helped start it with Bill Blackburn and Bertie Burleson. So I still serve on the Texas Habitat Board. We serve 70 different affiliates across the state, and we're trying to keep it going.
I'm Lee Jennings, I'm Maud Jennings' son, and Maud would be smiling right now, or is smiling right now down from heaven, and it was such a passion with my mother, and I'm honored to be here.
Gwen Jennings, Maud Jennings' daughter-in-law, and just in awe at what Habitat has continued to do.
Well, and your mom was a teacher here for years, and so many, is there anyone in the room who had his mother as a teacher? Joe did, he's got his hand up back here. Okay. Well, I would like to know from the room, how many, and I know there's some in here, how many served as a board member for Habitat?
Rosalind.
Rosa did, okay. How many of you have worked on a project for Habitat? Okay. All right, many of you have. So, anything you'd like to add?
Just thank you for, and it means so much that this proclamation came from you, Mayor Judy. It's just humbling and incredible, and the recognition just gives that validation for our mission and the community support, and how we just can't do it without the community, and just thank you for doing this kind of recognition, so it puts a stamp on that. I did have Carolina, one of our homeowners, I felt like just summed up the essence of our mission, and she said, thank you for everything you've done for me. You have changed my life in every way possible.
Yeah.
And it's over and over and over. Yes, so. All right, we'll give you this to hold, and we'll take some pictures. You're working on a couple houses right now?
Yes.
Okay. And construction right now? Okay, very good, very good. All right. So if you can get everybody in.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Rosa.
And turn around, shake the hand of a council member, and just keep on doing the wonderful job you're doing. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Did my email make any sense the other day? Did you get it? When you asked about hope?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I forwarded it on to the committee. Yeah, I did.
I just want to make sure.
Very much so.
Tom, thank you. Good to see you. You guys keep it going. You're the ones who have been work.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, our community could not operate if we didn't have all these wonderful, wonderful volunteers. All right, if the Daughters of the Republic of Texas will come forward. Some more great volunteers. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
City of Kerrville proclamation. Whereas the Daughters of the Republic of Texas was organized in 1891 to perpetuate forever the memory of the Texas pioneer families and the soldiers of the Republic of Texas. And whereas the Joshua D. Brown chapter, chartered in January 1996 in Kerrville, is one of over 100 chapters in the state of Texas and comprised of many daughters of the Republic of Texas who reside in the city of Kerrville. And whereas on March 2nd, 1836, the Texas Declaration of Independence was signed at Washington on the Brazos, and whereas on March 6, 1836, the Alamo fell, and all Texan defenders died for the cause of Texas independence. And whereas on March 27, 1836, about 400 Texans were slaughtered at Goliad. Now therefore I, Judy Eichner, Mayor of the City of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim March 24 as Texas History Month in the City of Kerrville, and I urge all citizens to join me this month in honoring our Texas heroes and proudly displaying the Texas flag. Thank you. Now, you get to tell us who you are and how you're connected.
I'm Nancy Wilson, and I am a 7th generation Texan, so where else would I be?
I'm Martha Pollard, and my great-great-grandfather fought at the Battle of San Jacinto and was one of them that tracked down their boss man over there when he escaped, but he found him and brought him back. And he married a daughter of one of Austin's old 300.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
Could I impose on someone to take for our chapter, to have for our notebook, for our yearbook, just to have someone to snap
Take a
this
picture.
beautiful.
I bet you can.
It's right here.
Okay.
That's all you need to touch.
Okay.
Well, let you hold that.
Go ahead. Good. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and 2. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. How many are in your local chapter?
Oh, we have what?
We're running out of 150.
150. Wonderful. That's great. Well, shake the hand of council member.
Good to see you, Joe.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. All right. A good half hour of honoring people. All right, we're ready for our visitors forum. Shelley?
Yes, ma'am, we have two. Jerry Wolf.
Okay. And I just want to remind everybody that as you speak, be respectful of your time, the subject matter. We're asking no names to be mentioned individually, and just be considerate of everyone in the room. Jerry.
I'll try to do that.
Thank you.
I'll do my best. As you know, I wrote to y'all a while back about a violation of the Texas Public Information Act, where I requested some information, did not receive it. This was in November, I made that request. Then again in early February, I made a little bit different request, and I got information that was requested back in November. I have not heard anything back from y'all. I did hear from Mr. Hayes that he said he had overlooked, on the first request, he overlooked the information and he apologized. I have since done a little bit of research into the Texas Public Information Act, and I have some concerns. One thing I found out that I feel like that Mr. Hayes, I asked Mr. Hayes, following my research.
Jerry, just to be considerate of everyone, if city attorney or something, but
Oh,
let's
okay.
not use
All right,
names.
I asked the
Thank
city
you.
attorney if he held a certificate of completion of the training course on the handbook for public information. It's my understanding that he is required to have that since he replied to my request for information. And he said he did not have such a certificate. So I think there's been 2 violations now that have occurred for this against the Public Information Act. And I think the city needs to take action. The reason I think this is so important is that the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, wrote in the introductory page of the handbook, he states, Texans have the right to monitor their government's decision-making, including spending tax dollars and exercising powers granted by the people. That knowledge is essential to preserving the rule of law, protecting the democratic process, and defending the liberty we all cherish. The Public Information Act is a critical protection of that right. And I have not done anything more about this. I have contemplated about contacting the State Attorney General's office. As it states in the handbook, they provide a number to call if you feel like there's a violation that has occurred. I have not done that. I'm awaiting to see if y'all will take some action. One thing I would recommend to you is that everyone who is an employee that is going to handle requests for public information, have the training class on the handbook, and get a certificate of completion. So anyway, I have to wait to see if y'all take any action now. Thank you.
Thank you.
George
Mayor, may I respond, please?
Yes, you may.
I think
I think this is out of order. This is
I'm-
not on
I'm-
the agenda.
I'm going to allow him to respond to you. Thank you.
I think this is in violation of state law.
Well, I'm going to allow it.
I think I tell you all the time that I love my job. You know, you prepare for these meetings, and I guess in the back of our mind, we think maybe we'll get attacked. I consider that attack. That certificate of completion for the Open Records Act, I took that back in probably 2005, 2006 when it was required. I looked at the law. I'm not required to take it every year. I don't know what happened to that certificate. I've trained people on the Public Information Act. Based on the records that Mr. Wolf requested, and I think the multiple departments they were contained in, my mistake, I just kind of assumed another department would take care of that. I think bottom line is, the important thing to hear is he's received the information that he requested.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I think, Mayor and Council, some of that information I consider to be time sensitive, but there was that delay that occurred that lost some of its relevancy because of that.
Thank you. Shelley, anyone else?
George Brody.
George Brody, 1616 Glen Road. Nobody's getting attacked here. Just going to read off some information. Basically, we're in an election cycle. Everybody knows that. Unfortunately, here locally at least, invariably that ends up being an election cycle without information. You just generally say, hey, I'm a nice person, vote for me. That does a disservice to the people. So using the city's own information, I've kind of tracked some trends. I've been tracking some trends that I'd like to sort of provide and then sort of ask rhetorically, of course, how the ones that are running are going to address these issues. We keep hearing about growth in Kerrville, and the truth is the city's own budget puts out an estimate of the population of Kerrville, and between 2020 and 2024, the population has reportedly gone down by a couple hundred. I'll just say that it's been flat, okay? Government spending, however, in that same time period has increased, general fund spending by 31%. So population flat, government spending 31% increase. Property tax has increased in that 4-year period 39%. That's right, I said 39%. Population flat. The household income has gone up potentially, but basically what we're working in is flat population, government expense going up, debt going up. We know our housing costs are going up. We also have bigger government. Government spending is part of it. We have bigger brother, as you'll see later in the peddler's thing. We have less transparency. It's debatable, but we used to have something on there called annual local debt report on your own website. The last one posted was 2022. Special interest access control. I'm not going to go into specifics, but we've seen where special interests are getting better access to this body from the incentives and things that are being handed out. We have unfunded mandates increasing, deferred expenses increasing. Turns out to be just tax and spend. You know, I don't claim to be one party or the other. It was actually one of the parties back in the 90s that used the term, it's the economy stupid, is just keep focused on it. I would say that applies here. I wouldn't use the word stupid, even though some have. But our economy, our public is asking you all questions, and we're not really getting answers with words or with actions. It makes it appear, and I'm not saying anybody's insensitive, but it makes it appear you don't actually feel it. So the questions are, if you're running, what are you running on? What are you asking us to, if you're asking us to keep moving down this path, I would argue then please defend the path that we're on. If you're, we need more, I think, empowerment of the people rather than dictating and giving out things to the people. How are you going to address that specifically, if you could? And then what are you going to do when the next economic downturn hits if our budget is so tied to things like sales tax? We're on an edge, and how are you going to steer us off? Thanks.
Thank you.
Shelley, anyone else?
No, ma'am.
All right. We will move to the consent agenda. We have several items on there, council. Are there any that we need to remove before we vote? I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved. We have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brenda. All in favor, right hand, please. And it is approved unanimously. We will move on to 5A. Shelley, if you'll read that in for us, please.
Ordinance number 2024-03, second reading, an ordinance amending the city's code of ordinances by repealing Chapter 78, peddlers and solicitors, in its entirety and replacing it with a new Article 6, solicitations, within Chapter 30, businesses of the city's code of ordinances. This new article adopts revised regulations concerning peddlers, solicitors, and canvassers as those terms are defined, providing for penalties not to exceed $500, ordering publication, providing an effective date, and providing other matters related to the subject. We do have 9 citizen speakers signed up.
All right. Council, do you have any questions for Guillermo before we hear our speakers? All right. I'm going to ask our speakers if they will please limit their remarks to 3 minutes, and we'll start with the first one.
Nikki Keynes.
Gaines Kerrville. As I've already stated, this proposed ordinance is just an example of government overreach. Citizens have expressed their concerns for the 3rd time counting tonight, starting with the fact that most canvassers are nonprofit groups and should not fall into a business category. Those should have been specifically exempt from each and every restriction except for a common sense time frame to canvass. The first time the ordinance was addressed, 2 of you were eager to accept the first draft, but thankfully the other 3 felt it needed to go to a workshop where at least the no-knock list was eliminated. I have addressed the egregious wording of the 4th whereas clause, leading citizens to believe that they need your protection from, quote unquote, those persons who often desire to interrupt and intrude. You've included specifically canvassing regarding faith-based, ideological, and political people, which conflicts with the constitutional right of free speech. 2 weeks ago at the official first reading, the council continued to ignore citizens' concerns as the mayor asked for council input before the vote was called, and only Councilman Garcia spoke of his concerns. The silence from council in addressing our concerns, plus no request for clarification from Mr. Hayes, tells citizens that our voices do not matter. Mr. Hayes' attempt to clarify this ordinance in local paper only added insult to injury. If council stands by his interview, then the goal of protecting the public is a wash, as Chief McCall stated previously that there was no data linked to any activity of fraud, burglary, etc. Updated after decades and refine the definitions, yes, but keep the freedoms of the First Amendment front and center. By restricting speech through the use of a no soliciting sign, Section 3180, you've forgotten the definitions between solicitor and canvasser. A canvasser uses that right to share a message, especially a message of faith, ideology, or political ideas. Section 3183 prohibits, quote unquote, any institution or group organized for a political, religious, or charitable purpose, or individuals engaging in such activities from even distributing on public property and sidewalks. Again, a breach of religious and political free speech. I highly recommend that the council put this on hold. And let me see, there is an attorney from Dallas-Fort Worth that makes a recommendation on this. He made a comment in the paper, The Texan. He says, I suggest that Kerrville tread lightly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Wolf.
Gary Wolf, Kerrville.
I want to remind everybody, please, our staff have titles, and I would ask that you use those rather than names. Thank you.
Okay. In the discussion of this Section 3183 in the last meeting, the first reading, the city attorney was questioned quite heavily about its wording, especially that second paragraph, and he voluntarily stated that pamphlets were not to be distributed, and then questioned, I think by Mr. Garcia, about does this apply to sidewalks, and there was a bit of discussion like that, and the city manager said the distribution of pamphlets or in the rest of the items listed there on a public sidewalk was forbidden. And just listening to that, and I asked Mr. Herring, did the thought occur to you that this is kind of getting in the area of constitutionality?
Never.
Never? What about you, Mrs. Hughes?
Never.
I know you're feeling, Mr.
Absolutely.
Garcia. Mr. Harris?
No, sir.
Mayor?
No, sir.
No. Well, it did me. I don't sit there and read the Constitution daily. In fact, maybe once a year. But I do hear enough about freedom of speech and freedom of religion. This is touching on that. And it should be of concern because it could cause lawsuits. And without having y'all hire legal counsel, an expert on the U.S. Constitution, and get an opinion from them, if I was you, I'd be very reluctant to approve the wording that's in 3183. I very much recommend to you that this whole thing be rewritten. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, can I respond to that too? Because
Yes,
I think
sir.
this may come up again. I believe Mr. Wolf is referring to Section 30-183. If you read the whole section, and you have to read these together, this applies to a commercial application. It talks about peddling, hawking, selling, soliciting, distributing, or taking orders for any services, wares, merchandise, or goods. I'm going to paraphrase. You go to the last sentence, and it says, this prohibition shall apply to include any institution or group organized for a political, religious, or charitable purpose. Point being is, you can't be tied to a political, religious, or charitable purpose, but be engaged in selling, hawking, peddling things. And again, this is supposed to be, protecting the right-of-way, protecting traffic. I think it's a fair provision in the law. I've had conversations with others about that, and I think they're misapplying, in this case, Mr. Wolf is misapplying the statute.
Thank you.
Ordinance.
Shelley?
Jacqueline Hall.
Jacqueline Hall, 1800 Junction Highway. I appreciate the city attorney addressing that because that was one of my top concerns is the public right-of-way and how it's being defined. However, you did delineate that there's a difference between political and religious organizations versus others. So my question would be, why are we singling out political and religious organizations over anybody else when it comes to selling things? If other people can sell things in the public right-of-way, why not political and religious organizations? In terms of the no solicitor sign, it's kind of been addressed already. In terms of somebody going door to door for a religious or political purpose, that's not soliciting, as has already been established. And so we shouldn't be penalized for knocking on a door that says no soliciting if we're there for a religious or political purpose. When it comes to small businesses and getting permits to do business, again, y'all know my views about small government. I don't see a reason to add more and more burden to businesses conducting business in the city especially. So in terms of the fingerprinting and things like that people have to undergo to obtain a permit, I think that's a dangerous precedent to set as well in terms of data collection and privacy violations. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Terry Hall.
Good evening. My name is Terry Hall. I live in Ingram, but I feel that this ordinance affects all of us in the county. I'm representing a group called Liberty in Action. It's been in the news a lot lately. But of course, our biggest concern is really with Section 30-183 and the solicitation on public property. And while the city attorney is claiming it's for a commercial purpose, it says clearly solicit or distribute for a political or religious purpose. So that could mean soliciting votes, distributing a voter guide. It could mean a religious tract, doing street evangelism. My kids were literally with our youth pastor just last week doing street evangelism here in the city of Kerrville. Would they now get fined up to $500 for every hour they're out doing that? If you worked early voting and if you worked election day, at the $500 max, you would be fined $46,000 for distributing voter guides in the city of Kerrville. Don't tell me that is not a violation of our First Amendment rights. And same thing for churches. Why would we do that in Kerrville where we have a city on every, a church on every corner? This is a major egregious violation of our First Amendment right. And I'm sorry that you can't see that, but I think you are opening yourself up to some serious litigation if you pass something that is so obviously aimed at the two types of speech that in particular the First Amendment was designed for. Our founders knew you didn't need to protect polite speech that doesn't offend anybody. The kind of speech that needs protection, legal protection, is political and religious because it can be controversial. So I urge you to please do not vote for this ordinance.
Thank you.
Roger Hall.
Roger Hall, I also in Ingram, but is, as it's been mentioned, concerning to anybody in the Kerr County area. I'll just add to what others have said that this is very concerning because of the timing of this, being in the middle of election cycles. What are we trying to do? Just silence people? This is very concerning because those that don't have the bankroll behind them don't have the opportunity to use the media sources and other things that other candidates may be able to use. They need to be able to get out on the street, go door to door and talk to people about their ideas and what they're standing for, what they're putting their hat in the ring to stand for and run for. So this is just going against all those liberties that we hold dear. And then lastly, just those definitions are vague. As it's been touched on, hawking, what does that mean? Is it just selling for money, wares, or does it mean promoting an idea that one might be passionate about? So I'm concerned about all these issues. that have been stated, and again, I encourage each one of you to vote no. Thank you.
Peggy McKay.
Peggy McKay, 103 Westchester, Kerrville. Just before I left home to come in, a friend asked me to bring this in and read it to you since he could not be here. First of all, he says, I understand Chief McCall said there's no problem with things as they are. So if the proposed ordinance changes are not the product of police complaints or public outcry, one must wonder who and what is really driving this initiative to fix something that isn't broken. The city has failed to answer these questions and provide believable rationale for the changes. If City Council cannot produce a plausible and true objective and need, this change needs to be abandoned. And my thought when I was looking at this was that the calls to the police department by published reports are down, so it can't be a demand that has just arisen. And the purpose stated is to protect against criminal activity, burglary, but the ordinance is, as stated, is not in sync with that goal. And then the second thought, the wording of the ordinance does not clearly state what problem it's trying to solve, what the true purpose is. Without clarity, there's a huge opportunity for unintended consequences. Does this apply to a young lady operating a lemonade stand? What about young men performing their mandatory Mormon missionary work? If they read this, what would they think? And the third one, when you ask ChatGPT about this, here's the result. Question: would it be legal for a city to create and enforce an ordinance that banned political block walking? Answer: any ordinance that directly or indirectly prohibits political block walking could potentially face legal challenges on grounds of violating individuals' rights to free speech and assembly. My thought in section 3180, a simple solution would be where people can put up a sign that says no peddlers, no solicitors, no trespassing on private property. When that sign is posted, it seems to me it would have solved a lot of the problems in a very simple manner, and would have saved a lot of time and money. And I see him running out of town, so I can't get to, or time, I can't read the rest of his. But I do not recall when an ordinance was accompanied in the past with a financial cost breakdown, and I was curious why this particular ordinance did have that.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
George Baruti.
George Broody, 1616 Glen Road. So I too had email exchange with the city attorney. It was only after the clarifying article that was posted, which I thought muddied the waters more than it clarified. So I asked about him. As has been talked about, the phrase that a lot of people are hanging on is basically it's unlawful for a person to peddle, comma, hawk, comma, sell, comma, solicit, comma, distribute. Each of those individually is being prohibited. It's not saying distribute sales, it's saying distribute. And then it goes on to talk about political and religious organizations. There's no other way to read that. It basically, I was told I'm comfortable with the wording of that. We, of course, wouldn't prohibit that. The fact is, the law says you can. So when you guys are all gone, you can. Well, except the state law will get in the way. Then you have the other aspects of it that are just as disturbing. You're actually writing an ordinance that is giving you jurisdiction, the city jurisdiction, to create a permit that you're going to collect a fee for on private property, okay? You don't have that authority to create a permit on private property. You have the authority to create a license, but that's not what this is. This is a permit to access. back to the clarifying article, it was said that this will not be controlling someone coming up to your doorstep and putting the stuff on the ground, okay? So you have to knock or ring the doorbell. Are you kidding me? So my privacy can be broken up into if someone comes in, puts it down and says, hey, I'm in here dropping off something, would you like to read it? There's no law against that. That makes no sense. This is just crazy. The other things is, there is a Fourth Amendment we have in the Constitution. It's got nothing to do with free speech. It has to do with unlawful search and seizure. It's proven, tested law that fingerprinting where the initial detention of the person wasn't lawful is an illegal search and seizure. So if you arrest somebody, you have probable cause, then you can bring fingerprinting. You can't just fingerprint everybody you want to bring them in unless you want to get challenged on Fourth Amendment, which you will. I promise you, you will. The other thing is, as far as the fingerprinting, we've made it, and these are the legal terms that get used, we've made it arbitrary and capricious that the police department will determine who does and doesn't have to get fingerprinted somewhere along the line. So you don't have guidelines for it. So now you're back to that Fourth Amendment problem. These are big problems that make us look stupid, okay, as citizens. If this goes through and it gets challenged, we're going to be shown as the people that can't actually write an ordinance that's compliant with the law. And I promise you, we will get challenged, because guess who's going to be standing at somebody's door knocking without a permit?
Thank you.
Alicia Bell.
Well, first of all, your ordinance violates the First and the Fourth Amendment. Government does not give us our rights. Our rights come from God, and you may not take them away. And I'm going to be reading some scriptures from Psalm 37, just so you can get that down in your heart and know what God says about this. Don't worry about the wicked or envy those who do wrong, for like grass they soon fade away. Like spring flowers they soon wither. Trust in the Lord and do good, then you will live safely in the land and prosper. Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes. For the wicked will be destroyed when those who trust in the Lord will possess the land. Soon the wicked will disappear. Though you look for them, they will be gone. The lowly will possess the land and will live in peace and prosperity. The wicked plot against the godly. They snarl at them in defiance. Though that seems to be what happens frequently in this place. But the Lord just laughs when he sees their day of judgment coming. For the strength of the wicked will be shattered, but the Lord takes care of the godly. But the wicked will die. The Lord's enemies are like flowers in a field. They will disappear like smoke. The Lord blesses will possess the land, and those he curses will die. The godly will possess the land and will live there forever. But the Lord will not let the wicked succeed or let the godly be condemned when they are put on trial. I have seen wicked and ruthless people flourishing like a tree in its native soil, but when I looked again, they were gone. Though I searched for them, I could not find them. So the people who are wicked, you might want to repent, because you will be gone. Look at those who are honest and good, for a wonderful future awaits those who love peace, but the rebellious will be destroyed. They have no future. So if you're looking for your 15 minutes of fame, I don't know if you're looking for that, if you're about to get that, because you looks like you're going to be sued, and guess what? God wins.
Thank you.
Rachel Vickers.
I'm coming from this from a small business aspect. Mayor and City Council, my name is Rachel Vickers, and my husband and I have a small business that we are trying to, that we need to come to new businesses and ask if they would need our services. What we do is wash windows in Kerrville and Fredericksburg. We are so small that advertising in publications is way too expensive. The only way that we can afford to advertise is business cards. We are barely keeping our head afloat above water, and are cutting off, and you're cutting off our only source of advertising for our business. This ordinance is an anti-small business. New businesses generally need our services, and we also are very careful not to break the bank for small businesses that are coming into our town. As a general rule, we work with new businesses to be able to function and work with them and to be able to afford our services. Please realize that this ordinance will only hurt small businesses that are starting up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, can I respond to that? I didn't catch the speaker's name. This does.
Vickers.
Mrs. Vickers, this doesn't apply if you go to businesses. This applies to residences.
I go door to door
Okay.
in residence also.
Mayor, we do have one citizen speaker who turned in the form after it was read in. Would you like to grant permission?
Yeah.
Okay. Louis Amstoy.
A little bit unprecedented for me to say this, but after the professor over here gave us the lecture about the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment, I had to get up and say something about this because that's my business, is the First Amendment. Now, if I hear everybody behind me and I listen to their arguments, well, not necessarily their arguments, their nonsense, basically, I'm going to put this out there because this is important for you guys to understand. How many of you have been to Vegas? Who's been to Las Vegas in the last 25 years? When you go to Vegas and you stand in the public right of way and you are handed, or you can take it if you'd like, a piece of pornography. Okay? That is protected under the First Amendment. Now, the way that Clark County handles this is they say if they try to put it in your hand, that's a violation of their code. Okay? But it is a First Amendment privilege to have pornography or strippers or escort services provided to those people who are walking in the public right-of-way on the sidewalk. Okay? Are we going to do that here? Is that what we're going to allow? Now, if you have a religious tract, my assumption is in the right-of-way, and let's give an example here in Kerrville, Mr. Hurd, who was discussing his dislike of people of a certain persuasion or lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. Now, as long as he didn't block that right away, he had every right under the First Amendment to protect, to demonstrate. I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. We may not like the message, but he has that right. But once he steps into the way of the person who's walking on that sidewalk, and I had a young lady on my show this morning who is in a wheelchair. She can't access certain parts of Kerrville because our sidewalks aren't wide enough. So we have an American Disabilities Act, okay? If he blocks that, to me, that's a violation of this law or this ordinance we're talking about here. Nobody is saying that your First Amendment right to protest or to knock on a door is being infringed. If you actually read the ordinance and you understood the Constitution of the United States, you would see that this ordinance is written for that. And oh, by the way, every single city in the state of Texas has a similar ordinance. Almost all of them run by the police department. But yet we have to listen to complete nonsense over and over again, including conflated issues here that are not true. I don't know how else to say it to everybody that's here. You can believe what you want, but if you say this, your unintended consequence is that I can have somebody come out and give you porn or give you right-wing nonsense or communist propaganda. That's what you're asking for. And what we're saying here is what is reasonable. And what is reasonable is what's before you.
Thank you.
And that's the end of the citizen speakers.
Thank you. All right, council, we have before us an ordinance. Do we have any questions, any comments that we need to address to Guillermo before we vote?
Yes, Mayor. I would like to see if there's anything that we've considered to add an exemption for those who want to go around and try to have temporary sales or even do like mowing lawns in their neighborhoods. Have we considered that, and do we have proposed or prepared language to potentially insert that into here? I know I brought it up every single time, so.
I mean, my understanding is it will not affect.
It is a prohibition on it, so if I can get an answer to the question. If there is not, then that's fine. I'll take that as an answer.
Anyone? You have your answer.
Oh, he's getting up to the podium.
Guillermo?
Do we have something?
As I understand it, that's why I wanted to go back to the definitions.
Okay, I'm trying to get an answer to my question. My time's running out. Nobody's speaking. Do we have some proposed language to exempt that? And I guess that's a no.
Give him time.
Is that a no?
This is, I'll just say this again, I've said it before, this is why it'd be helpful for you to give us questions before the meeting, because then we could be prepared to address your concerns. You know, it's hard to.
I'll reclaim my time. I've asked this question every single meeting. The citizens who are sitting in this room know that and who have watched. I've asked this question every single time. This is nothing new. I'll move on from that then. The section that somebody brought up, that our city attorney was referring to about this is only to prevent peddling, hawking, and selling and soliciting. He stopped before that. It goes further to say from distributing. It didn't mention that. And it's to include political, religious, and charitable purposes. That's something to make sure to keep in mind. It's important. Courts take up this issue all the time on the First Amendment, especially the United States Supreme Court. One thing that they have to look at is the content neutrality of an ordinance when you talk about something, especially with the First Amendment. Content neutrality is, do you have to look at what the sign is or what they're holding up in order to determine whether your regulation applies to it or not? And in this case, that's exactly what they're going to have to do. You're going to have to look at exactly what they're holding up to determine, is that political or religious speech? And if it is, then our regulations apply to it. This isn't content neutral. This is content specific.
Let me reply to that real quick. You're reading it incorrectly.
Okay.
No.
Please Mayor, if I can finish my time,
Let's let him finish.
Thank you.
Attorney.
One way that governments have an opportunity to do that is if they can overcome strict scrutiny and provide a compelling governmental interest. In that case, I think if we had proof of evidence that this is going on in our community, and this is a regulation that we need to put into place in order to keep our residents safe, that is potentially a compelling governmental interest. We have no evidence, as it's been said before by staff, that this is even an issue, that crime rate is directly related to the solicitation or canvassers. In conclusion, what's really concerning to me is that we took what was supposed to be just a cleanup of this ordinance and to make it consistent with what state law was and just to clean it up. We went from that to going way further and beyond what even council was told it was going to be and started regulating political and religious speech. It wasn't in there before. And it's being regulated on private and public property. I don't even know why we want to try to risk going on the line and potentially getting on the verge of crossing the line on this issue. There's no reason why we even need to do it. You know, we talk about first speech tonight. The mayor has been using her official position to actually compel speech and to say, you can't use someone's name, you have to use their position. That's something else to be cautious about too, compelled speech. The First Amendment was carefully construed by our founders to limit the government, not to limit the citizens. We have God-given rights that are protected by provisions of the Constitution that I fear that our City Council right now are potentially violating on the passage of the second ordinance. I would hope everybody has a come to Jesus moment and votes no on this. Let's put this back to where it should have been and just let's get something cleaned up.
Mr. Hayes, did you have something you would like to say?
I have a lot I'd like to say. I'll go back to 3183. That only applies to canvassers and people with political message if they're trying to sell something in the right of way. It's not, it was brought up this evening about the individual outside the library. That conduct is fine. With respect to canvassers and the way that's defined in this ordinance only applies to them a couple ways. One, they can't go door to door 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. I thought that was a reasonable time limit in complete alignment with other cities that regulate that activity. They also can't approach a door with a no solicitation or no trespassing or whatever sign. That's it. They don't pay a fee. They don't have to go get a permit. And again, I think this is a reasonable regulation based on what we have on the books now. The way I felt like the ordinance needed to be changed to be clear, and with some of the complaints and issues I have heard over the years.
All right, council, anyone have something to say? I simply want to add that I believe this is reasonable. I think that it has been being blown out of proportion. I think that it is being put in place to protect people who do not want people knocking on their doors. And I think that I personally think that it will serve our community. So, do we have a motion?
I move to deny ordinance number 2024-03.
Do we have a second to that motion? Do we have another motion?
I move we adopt ordinance number 2024-03 on second reading.
Second. I request a roll call vote.
Roman, I don't think a roll call vote is necessary. We know what it's not necessary in this instance.
That's okay. You may not think it's necessary, but the rules allow any one council member to request a roll call vote, and upon that request, a roll call vote has to be taken.
We will take it. I do not think it is necessary.
Thank you.
Shelley?
Councilmember Garcia,
Absolutely not.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Eichner,
Yes.
Councilmember Herring,
Yes.
Councilmember Hughes.
Yes. Thank you, Shelley. It passes 4-1. Mr. Garcia is in opposition. We will move on to 6A.
Ordinance number 2024-07, an ordinance amending the City of Kerrville fee schedule by adopting a revised fee to be charged for each solicitation permit. And we do have one citizen speaker signed up.
All right, Guillermo?
This is just a revision of our current fees. Our current fee for our peddlers and solicitors is $600 per year. And for anybody under that, it's $10 additionally. And so what we're actually requesting is a reduction of that fee to $86. And what I tried to do is give you an estimate of what that cost of that solicitation permit was, trying to give you a cost-based analysis. And I did this very quickly, but I tried to accommodate the individuals that we think are going to be part of this process, as well as in the salaries. I did try to include their salary, benefits, and taxes. So that's why the number looks a little high than what you would normally see. But I tried to accommodate all those things. I tried to accommodate in here as well an inspection done by police officers or even code enforcement. I use the police officers' number because they're the ones that are going to be first contacted in case they had to go out and do an inspection of that sort. And I tried to accommodate as many things as I think I could. And the number came out to $86. And one thing I wanted to share with you that I will pass out. Will you hand this out to everybody? I didn't have it ready by the time I got the agenda bill ready, but I just kind of wanted to share what other cities are charging across the board. And you will see that there's a yearlies, there's 30 days, there's additional, there's per firm, yearly additional. But when it came down to it, when I found for permits that are 90 days, like the ways ours is stated, I found a range from $30 up to $80. And I feel that we're in line with that at $86 is what I would recommend being the fee for this particular fee, permit.
Mayor, Council, you know, to kind of answer the question that I had brought up about why now, why did we provide a breakdown? Well, in kind of the essence of transparency, it was one of the things I requested from Guillermo and his team, you know, any ways to kind of start showing why we can have a fee, and it kind of alleviates some of the questions of, well, how did we come up with that number? This kind of just shows an administrative or a general breakdown of our thought process on how we came out, just from our side alone versus also the comparison of other cities.
Thank you. All right, any questions for Guillermo, council?
Makes sense.
As I'm understanding it, so the vehicle maintenance on the one that we got in our packet, and the vehicle fuel, vehicle maintenance, there's just a regular vehicle line. What is that for?
The vehicle fuel is what is costing us to run a PD vehicle on a yearly basis in regards to just fuel that's being used. The vehicle maintenance is the oil changes for the vehicles. I left that one a little low, but the vehicle registration and inspections are, we have to get our vehicles inspected every year.
Okay, so that's what that's for.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, hold on. So and that's just in case the PD has to go and inspect.
Yes, sir.
What, like, if there's a
Like,
complaint about someone knocking on doors or soliciting?
Yes, sir. If we get a complaint of some sort from a customer, or I'm sorry, not a customer, but a citizen complaining about somebody soliciting or knocking on their doors, police officers would be notified and go out and investigate what's going on.
Okay, so to be clear, if there is a law-abiding citizen who's going through the process to get a permit and everything, and is not in an attempt to violate the ordinance that was just passed, they have to pay for the vehicle maintenance, vehicle fuel, and everything regarding the vehicle for someone else's potential violation of the law.
No, sir. So the breakdown, let me clarify this real quick here, I'm sorry. The breakdown simply is just the cost-benefit analysis of some of the administrative stuff to get to that, the initial $140. We are not charging a per line item basis, the breakdown of that. So when somebody comes in for a permit, anything we do, and when you look at public safety, parks, and public safety, fire, less EMS, police, and parks, they're loss leaders. They're gonna lose money ideally. So this is just showing a breakdown of, you know, if we came in and said, hey, for example, the $600 one now, we couldn't tell you what the breakdown of that cost is based off of it. And
No, I
so-
understand, but the breakdown is what I'm looking at
Yes.
for the total cost of the $86. That's, I mean, what you're telling me is, if I'm understanding it correctly, everything that you said the vehicle stuff is for in terms of the maintenance is in case a police officer has to go and inspect a potential violator.
If you look at it myopically, yes, sir, but really the breakdown on the initial one was $140, if that's what we were gonna charge for an actual true break-even cost.
Right.
But because of the best practices with other cities, Guillermo and his team recommended that we go down to the $86 one. So it's actually about $60-ish less than the
What was originally?
break-even analysis cost that he did.
Okay. I took the new page that you just gave me and quickly ran the numbers. I'm looking at the average for what an annual cost would be. And like, we just got this now, so can't blame me for asking these questions now. $600 fee is what Kerrville has, and at the very bottom we have an average, and that's $86.40. If you take out Kerrville's $600 fee, because nobody else is goes above 127. If you take out hours and average that, that's about $62. So we're actually, if you take that average, a little bit higher than what everybody else does when we're considering what we should do. You know, a conversation that I had with our city manager is that I hate when we bring all these permits and stuff together, that it's just almost an additional tax that citizens have to pay to go about what would have otherwise been their normal business as a citizen of the city. You know, with all the building regulations, now you have to do stuff on your private property with permits. Now you go knock door to door, potentially got to get a permit for that. Another day-to-day thing. And it seems like, you know, we're getting in this thing. I know it's probably not going to make us a lot of revenue. If anything, we're probably losing that 6 cents. But I mean, that's the whole thing. Is this really even worth doing at this point? Do we really need to? I don't even, I'm gonna vote against it because it relates to the ordinance that was just adopted, and there's a lot of other stuff in that ordinance that, I think need to be changed, and again, try to make a couple amendments that I didn't get any support on. Council didn't wanna do that, so I think it is higher than the average of the $62 that the other cities do, proposing it at $68, and my thing is, why not just put 65? I mean, 68 is kind of an odd number, so.
86.
Or 86, my bad. 86 is kind of an odd number. Just go to 85. That's it. Thank you.
All right, anything else, council, before we have our speaker? Shelley?
George Baruti.
It was, George Brewery, 666, you know where I live. So, I was gonna decline, but then you guys kind of got confused. So when I read it the first time, you're having to renew the fee every 90 days, or renew the permit every 90 days. Is this an annual fee, or is this a 90-day fee?
90-day fee.
Okay, so
every
whatever the
90
price
days.
is, it's times 4, right? Okay.
It's still it's 200 and change, I can't remember the exact number, which is still less than the $600 that we charge
200
now
and change?
annually.
What are you guys proposing?
86.
Times 4 is 200 and change?
344,
300,
actually.
yeah, I was
Okay,
thinking
so
of the
it's
other
a little
number.
more than 200 and change.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So, and as far as the original one, I think it's safe to say that that $600 probably was just kind of a deterrent tax. You know, the businesses in town probably didn't want peddlers, so they raised the fee high enough to try and discourage them. So, but to clarify, I think what you were asking, I didn't hear anybody else, so I'm trying to be helpful here. To come up with a fee, correct me if I'm wrong, you're just gonna take the cost of administering this service, whatever you wanna call it, and divide it by X number of people you think you're gonna get to have a permit, so that it'll cover the cost of the administration. Is that not right?
That's correct.
So the line-to-line stuff is somewhat irrelevant. It's the grand total, and he admits that he just kind of whipped out the estimate on the line-to-line. And it is just kind of a, pulling the number out. But that's where it's coming from. So kind of, I think getting lost in the weeds on that is maybe, just stick with 320 or 340.
44, yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end of the citizen speakers.
Thank you. All right, council, any other questions on this? Anything that you would like to ask Guillermo? All right, are we ready for a motion?
I move we adopt ordinance number 2024-07 on first reading.
I will second.
All in favor, right hand, please. And opposed? We have one. Councilmember Garcia is opposing. It passes 4-1. 7A.
Ordinance
Shelley?
number 2024-06, an ordinance amending Chapter 60 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Kerrville, Texas, which adopted zoning regulations, use districts, and a zoning map in accordance with the city's comprehensive plan. Such chapter more commonly known as the City Zoning Code, by changing the zoning and classification of the property consisting of an approximate 86.71 acre tract out of the W.T. Crook Survey Number 71, Abstract Number 114, Kerr County, Texas, and more commonly known as 300 Peterson Farm Road, from being a planned development district established by Ordinance Number 2010-03 to an industrial and manufacturing zoning district, IM, providing a cumulative clause, providing for severability, providing an effective date, ordering publication, providing other matters relating to the subject. We do have one citizen speaker signed up. However, this is a public hearing.
Thank you. Drew, some information for us?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a zone case request to go from the Planned Development District, PDD 1003, which was specific for a insect research facility, to industrial and manufacturing, IM, on 86.71 acres. Here's the subject property. The adjacent airport property is zoned AD Airport District. And the rest of the property surrounding it is in the county. The strategic catalyst area 11 specifies the allowable uses would be heavy commercial, light industrial near the airport, and of course across the highway would be ag and outdoor tourism near the river. So this is consistent with the Kerrville 2050 plan. And just a couple of comments that came up from our public hearing at Planning and Zoning. The access will be off Peterson Farm Road. The county and city are working on a project to upgrade the portion of Peterson Farm Road and Alamooney Road for the primary entrance and exit to this property for the traffic. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended it for your approval. I'd be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Council, anything for Mr. Paxton originally?
What was the vote on P and Z?
I do not recall off the top of my head.
All but one opposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hold up.
No, wait, only one opposed.
All but one were in favor.
All in favor except for one. Sorry,
Yes.
I was like, wait a second. That doesn't sound right. No, thank you for that
You're good.
clarification.
Thank you.
okay, at 7:26, we will open the public hearing. Who do we have?
Peggy McKay.
Peggy McKay, 103 Westchester. This property's been around with its potential flooding problems since at least 2010. And that flooding was the reason why nothing was done on it at that time. So I've looked at the Exhibit A, and I've seen the property many times. I have friends who live in the area. One of the things that was mentioned was that this is in Section 11, which allows for heavy commercial or light industrial. But my problem is, the only place they can build where it's high and out of that flood problem is closer to the subdivision that's across the road. And though it says this is county property, there's also a church in the area, plus that subdivision, also a few residents closer to Alamooney Road. But as I understand it, the road will only be developed from 300 to Alamooney Road and Highway 27. That's where the flooding is. What happens when it floods? I can't see a company shutting down their property because they can't get out of the property. They can't get access to 27. My concern is, will they go by the subdivision? Will they go by the high school where that road will not be improved like it will toward the airport? And I'm a little amused at the reason why this could be done, the zoning change to heavy commercial or light industry, even though ag and tourism is allowed. And the reasoning was it's near the airport or adjacent to the airport. But I don't know when a concrete factory needed to be close to an airport. So I don't understand the justification. And also in that 2050 plan, development is supposed to be in line with what is nearby in the neighborhood. Part of that subdivision's within the 200 feet where they would have a say in at least their thoughts about that. And speaking of thoughts, a speaker tonight mentioned about the group behind him. I don't know if that was all of us who spoke on that ordinance, but I don't appreciate the attitude that was directed to, whether it was me or anybody back there, to be called what we say nonsense and right-wingers is not right. It's not within the code of conduct for people in council, and I don't think that should be permitted. We have a right to say what we believe. Otherwise, why come to council? You would never know what the public thinks, and I hope that it doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, to answer the question on the zoning piece and the drainage. So this is just for the zoning piece, obviously to go to industrial manufacturing. They still have to lay the entire groundwork, the plating, setbacks, all of it has to come back to it. They still have to fall in line with TCEQ and all the requirements. So this is really just phase 0 in the whole vetting process. In site selection, you have both the city side, which we kind of provide some input to them, based off of which city that they want to go to. But there's also due diligence on the company side that while we may assist with, just like we would any other, business wanting to locate here in Kerrville, they have to also do their due diligence to make sure that what they can do. Just because they selected Kerrville doesn't mean that everything on the planning and zoning, setbacks, site plans, and drainage, all that still has to be applied to for this use.
Thank you. All right, council, any further questions or comments on this particular ordinance? All right, do we have a motion?
We'll need to close the public hearing, Madam
That's
Mayor.
right, thank you, I'm sorry. We'll close the public hearing at 7:31. Thank you, Shelley.
I move to approve ordinance number 2024-06 on first reading.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Harris. All in favor, right hand, please. We have 4 opposed. Mr. Garcia, it passes 4-1. All right, we are ready for 8A. Shelley?
Request for major waiver of requirements of subdivision code for property located adjacent to 3200 Oak Hollow, Kerrville, Texas 78028, and consisting of a 0.32 acre tract. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right, thank you. Drew, do you have some information on this property for us?
Yes, the applicant has requested a major waiver of the city's subdivision code. This tract is currently unsubdivided. As you can see, it's at the dead end of, the current dead end of Lammer Street. The tract is considered not developable at this time because it does not have adequate access to the street and adequate access to the sanitary sewer. And adequate access being defined as carrying those public infrastructure and utilities through the property to the adjacent property. So as you can see, the rest of the neighborhood, obviously, the road was built with that subdivision, crossing each lot to the end of, as you can see, 3200. That would be typical in any subdivision. Any property that develops through the subdivision and platting process extends city utilities and street at their cost. Of course, dedicated to the city. Here's the overall subdivision. Let me actually zoom in first. As you can see, the sewer line extends to the edge of 3200 as required by the subdivision ordinance. The water line actually does loop back all the way into the backside of River Hill for that design, those design purposes. And then the street dead ends at the edge of 3200 Lammer Street. So to be consistent with other subdivision and the development of property, staff does recommend denial of this request since it is not adequately served by those definitions. Additionally, this will put extra burden on the adjacent property. Should it develop, they'll have to extend the street and sewer line through this property without having adequate easements and right-of-way. So they'll have to obtain the right-of-way and easements from this property owner to be able to access the street and the sewer. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Can you clarify the color coordinations on this map?
Yes, my apologies.
Okay.
The green line is the sewer line, the blue line is water.
Okay. Because if it was the other way around, that's what I was confused
Yes,
about.
sorry
Okay.
about that.
No, that's okay, thank you.
So Drew, can you go back to the other map, please? I'm sorry, that one. So the owner or whoever would buy this piece of property would be responsible for putting the road in?
That's correct.
How I understand it. They'd also have to pay to have the water line put in.
The water line's there.
I'm sorry, the sewer
Yeah,
line.
The sewer line, they would have to pay to extend the water, or the sewer line.
But the way it looks on the map right here, the road would go through. Did you just say that they would have to grant an easement if the rest of it was developed?
If they go through the typical subdivision process and extend the road, they would dedicate the right-of-way to the public, along with the street and the sewer line. Without going through the full platting process, the adjacent property owner would not have access to public streets or the sewer, because this property would effectively block it, landlocking that adjacent property.
That's what I thought you said, so thank you.
Other questions, council?
I guess the closest road is up there near the 100 block, right? Up toward, on this map at least that we're seeing, the northwest area.
Yeah, Page North is a cul-de-sac.
Right.
Crossing 3 other properties, there is another dead-end street off of, I can't think of the name of the street.
That's okay.
Coming off of River Hill Boulevard. You can't see on that one either. There is another dead-end street, but again, that crosses 3 other properties. The only access to this property is through an access easement, but that's for private access. That wouldn't allow public access for the road or the sewer line.
For the property in question or the other property affected?
The other property that would be impacted.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. That's all the questions I had.
Okay, anyone else? All right, are we ready for a vote? Do we have a motion?
I'll move to deny the waiver request.
Thank you. I will second his motion.
All right, all in favor, right hand please. And it passes unanimously.
Councilmember Garcia.
8B, Shelley?
Project funding agreement between the City of Kerrville, Texas Economic Improvement Corporation and the City of Kerrville, Texas for improvements made to the city's Scott Schreiner Golf Course. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right, Ashley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, this project has come before you multiple times. Quick reminder, this was included in the $20 million sales tax revenue bond issued by the EIC that both the EIC and City Council approved. Improvements include major course renovations and building improvements. The project is to be phased over 2 years. The project would require the course to be closed for several months in 2025 to accommodate the grow-in season. And it is consistent with Kerrville 2050, action item P511. The project budget is $4 million, and the funding agreement is also for $4 million. Just a reminder of this project plan, you did receive it at your meeting in January, and you did provide consensus of your favor for it. So 2024 would be our planning and other projects phase, and then 2025 would be the major renovations phase, requiring the course closure. The scope of work and the estimated probable cost is coming in at a little under, right at $4 million actually. It'll be done, completed between 2 project managers. We will hire a golf consultant, as we've discussed, for the course renovations in that area of expertise, and then city staff will be the project manager for the other improvements, buildings, cart paths, bridges, etc. So here we are. Next step is final approval by the City Council, and City staff recommends approval of the funding agreement in the amount of $4 million as presented. Happy to answer questions.
All right, Council, we have seen this has been before us before. Do we have any questions for Ashley? All right, are we ready for a motion?
We'll move that we approve the agreement for the, wherever I'm at on my page here. The project funding agreement between the City of Kerrville Economic Corporation for the Scott Schreiner Golf Course renovations.
We have a second?
Second.
From Brenda, we have a second. All in favor, right hand please. And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Ashley, Shelley, if you'll read this in for us.
Yes, ma'am. 8C, project funding agreement between the City of Kerrville, Texas Economic Improvement Corporation and the City of Kerrville, Texas for improvements made to the city's Olympic pool. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right, Ashley.
Okay, similar to the last agenda item, this project is also included in the EIC sales tax revenue bond at $7 million. Improvements include modifying the pool for an outdoor competition facility and building improvements. This project would require the pool to be closed for the 2025 operational season. Once this project is complete, there will be a phased approach to reach the year-end operations goal, and it is consistent with Kerrville 2050, action item P5. Project budget is $7 million. The funding agreement is for $7 million. Again, the scope is listed out here, and we've reviewed it in detail multiple times. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any. Otherwise, I will skip to the next slide. Okay. Next steps, we're here tonight for final approval of the funding agreement, and staff recommends approval of the agreement as presented.
All right, council, we've also had this before us. These are all great, great projects. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the funding application as described.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, right hand, please. And it is approved. All right, Shelley, 8D.
Public funding agreement between the City of Kerrville, Texas Economic Improvement Corporation and the City of Kerrville, Texas for improvements made to the city's Callow Theater. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right, I get to try to pretend to be Michael. So obviously, we've talked about this a lot. This was part of the quality of life bond package as well for the HVAC system. In the conversations we've had with the Playhouse 2000, we recommended to keep it open this year with the project close time from March until March of 2025. This, again, we're budgeting for the full $4 million, and again, anything that does come outside of that or below that, we would bring back to council and EIC respectively. This is the timeline as far as the next steps. One of the things too is we are going to continue to move forward with the design bid and go through the process, even if it gets done a little bit early. If something does happen in the project where we have to come a little bit earlier instead of doing repair and maintenance, we can bring it to council and we can ideally be ready to go should something else happen. And staff recommends approval of the $4 million as presented.
All right, council, any questions on this one? All right, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the funding application.
Second.
We have a second from Joe. Right hand, please, everybody, and it is approved. All right. 8E. This is golf course, but it's very specific.
General contract between the City of Kerrville, Texas and Christopher Sharp for remodel of the golf course maintenance building. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
Okay, now that the funding agreement has been approved, we did place this item on the agenda. Should you approve the funding agreement, we're asking you to approve this contract. So this is directly related to the golf course improvement project. This is for the building maintenance remodel. The scope includes remodel of the office, bathroom, break room, and the ceiling improvements. We'll do some windows and update that facility. And again, those are just photos of the current conditions of the facility. And staff recommends approval of the contract as presented. Happy to
This
answer any
actually
questions.
won't affect golfers.
Absolutely not. This is for the maintenance shop.
Yes. All right, questions, council?
Timeline for this in terms of expected beginning and end?
Sure. So we will go ahead, once council approves the contract, we will go through the execution process, obtain their insurance and all of that good stuff that goes along with the contract management, and then get it scheduled. So it should take a couple of months to execute.
Okay. To execute it, you mean like, and also complete the work?
Project completion, yes,
Perfect.
sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the agreement.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, right hand, please. And it is approved. 8F, Shelley?
Professional services agreement between the City of Kerrville, Texas and Hewitt Engineering, Inc. for renovation of golf course bridges. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
And Ashley?
Okay, the second golf project associated with the bond project. So this is the design services for the course bridge renovations and also the cart path expansions. The contract is in the amount of $52,500, and staff recommends approval of the contract as presented. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, do we have a motion or
I have a
questions?
question.
Okay.
You have a question?
Nope, go ahead.
Actually, I know we've talked about this. Seeing the bridges and being out there, some of the holes are kind of limited to, you have to use the bridge to get to some of the areas. How are they going to traverse that while they're doing the renovations or the bridge work? Or are they going to put in brand new bridges and demolish the old ones? I'm just asking.
Sure. So we are updating 7 of the 9 total bridges We're not touching two of them. One was just improved, and then the other one was approved by TxDOT. The bridges that are, some of them will be completely replaced and replaced with box culverts and concrete. And the other bridges will be demoed and then replaced as well, likely with a wooden type bridge and expanded.
And definitely wider so they can get their equipment out there.
Yes, wider so we can move equipment.
Yes, ma'am. So,
Good question.
Okay, good.
yes, ma'am.
All right, are we ready for a motion?
I will authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the agreement with Hewitt Engineering for the renovation of the golf course bridges.
We have a second?
Second?
From Joe, all in favor, right hand, and it passes. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Ashley. Exciting times up ahead.
You're welcome. Have one more presentation for you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Update on solar eclipse planning.
Okay, this will be a presentation that both the Public Safety Department will be helping me present. So real quick, obviously the eclipse is still happening, April 8th. We're still planning for it. We provided a numerous updates to the community through media, boards and commissions, staff updates, and giving lots of presentations. So we feel like this information is well versed in the community, and we're getting it out, and we're happy to provide any additional information that folks have. So again, eye safety, we really want to depend on this. It's required through the duration of the eclipse with the exception of totality. Just a reminder, so when it's actually dark, you can take off your solar eclipse glasses to safely view. Otherwise, throughout the duration of the eclipse, the glasses should be worn. Kerrville Eclipse Festival is happening at Louise Hayes Park, April 8th. The timeline of the event will start at 8 a.m. and it'll run through almost a 12-hour session there. We will start the headliner shortly after the totality. That way we're encouraging folks to kind of stay in the park and mitigate traffic. We have lots of neat activities planned for that day. Shuttles, so Louise Hayes Park will actually be closed down for a few days during the operational period. This closure is for vehicular traffic and not pedestrian traffic, so the community and visitors can still access the park on foot or bike throughout the river trail or enter the park. Paid off-site parking at Tybee High School sold out. We had 250 total spots there as well. That is a park and shuttle location, so people will park there and we will shuttle them to the park. And of course, the free parking is available in the parking garage, and we do expect that to fill up rather quickly.
Yeah, Ashley, go back. So if they park in the Tybee High School, according to that last bullet, you cannot stay and view from there. Is that?
That is correct. It is not a viewing location. It is strictly parking and shuttling.
Okay, okay.
Kerrville Sports Complex, again, this is a park and view location, so we are not shuttling to the park. We have sold, out of 793 spots, we have sold 765. So as of today at about 4:45 p.m., we only have 28 spots left out of that whole 793. We do anticipate those selling. Callow Theater will be the designated bus parking. We do know that people will be coming from out of town and taking their own shuttles. So we have designated the parking lot there for them. We are not providing a shuttle to the park. They know this, and it is a short distance to Louise Hayes Park. This lot will also be closed on Sunday evening after the programming at the theater, and their porta potties will be placed there. So again, Kerrville Shriner Park will be busy. We're full, we're at capacity, and we opened up additional 150 spots for primitive dry camping in the large hillside portion of the park. We're bringing in porta potties, we're bringing in trash receptacles, roll-offs, we're bringing in shower trailers and extra restrooms as well to accommodate this. And the park will be closed to day use for our operational period, April 5th through 9th. So pass holders will be allowed access to the park, but we're not selling day use pass because we're going to be completely at capacity. We're not going to have any room for any additional cars. So miscellaneous park operations, all parks will be open with the exception of the golf course. Restroom facilities will be closed at the parks that have restrooms that do not have an event going on, and that is strictly because we cannot manage them. We're not going to be able to get to them to clean them, to restock them, but we are going to be placing porta potties there with plenty of toilet paper as an alternative. And then some of our parks that do not have portable toilets will have porta potties placed there as well. And the golf course will be closed that day, but staff will be on site to help mitigate and make sure people aren't doing anything they shouldn't be doing on the actual golf course itself. Wanted to go over a quick snapshot of the financials. So this was presented to the EIC at the recent meeting regarding the economic impact to sales tax. As a reminder, EIC earns a half cent on every dollar. And so if you look at a calculation comparison, an extra $1 million in sales tax revenue would only generate about $5,000 total towards that economic improvement corporation. So just wanted to brief the council on this and to inform you that yes, we will be having a lot of people come to town, but in order to have a big impact to the sales tax revenue, it would have to be a significant amount of sales tax in order to do that. As a reminder, the budget for this entire event, not just the Parks and Recreation event, but the solar eclipse event, is $750,000 that you approved. Parking fees and merchandise sales will help cover a portion of the cost. That'll help to offset the fees. We've received some inquiries from the public asking about parking fees, why we're charging, and that's strictly to recover the cost essentially for the shuttles and to help offset the expenses. And I will now turn it over to Chief Farrell. Haley, I'm sorry.
As you might expect, anytime we have an event of this nature, you're going to get a lot of guests coming into the community, and we anticipate a very large influx of people coming into our community to view this. With people come cars, and with cars come traffic congestion, something we're not used to seeing too much around here, but we do have a little bit of a hint of that on July 4th. We have a lot of people come into our community, and then upon conclusion of the event, they all want to leave and go home. And as you have experienced, I'm sure there is some traffic congestion that goes along with this. We anticipate that kind of on steroids, if you want to think of it in those terms. This event will bring many more people. And so our big plan is to try and use similar methodologies to what you've seen the police department use during the July 4th event to try and safely get people out of the community and back to their homes. You'll see much of the same activity in terms of how we direct traffic and where we direct traffic as they go to leave. We just anticipate it's going to take a much longer time to get people to flow out. One of the things we're encouraging people is that with any safe traffic plan, we have to go out and put cones and signs and block roads, do the things that are necessary for us to ensure that people know where they're supposed to go when it's time to leave. Well, that doesn't happen instantly. I wish it did. Wish we could simply snap our fingers and the cones would all be in place. It is going to take some time for us to get that done. And so we're encouraging residents to, and guests alike, to arrive and kind of get to their locations by about 10 o'clock, because that's when we'll start to see the rollout of some of those traffic measures that are going to be put in place, lane closures or cones or full road closures that might happen. One of the things that'll be quite different from what you're used to seeing on July 4th is that we intend to take the center lane of Sidney Baker and all the way up to Holsworth. We want to add an additional traffic lane that will move northbound towards I-10 freeway. And so you'll see that that center lane is coned off and it becomes a contraflow lane where we add an additional third lane of traffic moving. At Holsworth, we intend to divert some of that traffic over to Harper. Harper is one of those other routes that we intend to use very heavily to allow people to get out of town safely up onto the I-10 freeway. And so you'll see at that location that contraflow lane will disappear and that traffic will be directed down Holsworth to Harper and join with the traffic going on Harper to get to the I-10 from there. A little different than what we're used to seeing, but we just anticipate a heavier traffic flow at that location.
Are you not going to have any left turn lane then at all?
So during the event, there will be a closure of that left turn lane. And so there will be
all the way through town.
There will be some openings, but once we are at the conclusion of the event, all the way through town, we will have closed that off and traffic will have to flow completely northbound to Holsworth. Yeah, it's going to be a lot, that's a really good question, and the type of question that we're getting a lot of lately. What about on Mondays when I go to this location? This is a unique and special event. You're not going to be able to freely and easily get to some of those locations for a several-hour period upon the conclusion of the solar eclipse event on that day. Every community that we've looked at has experienced not just heavy traffic flow, but an inordinately heavy traffic flow immediately following the event. And we anticipate the same. You're just not going to be able to get around as you normally would. That's why we're trying to direct some of the traffic to get it quickly to move towards the freeway and out of town.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you wind up being able to be diverted to Holdsworth, will the left lanes be closed on Holdsworth as well?
Yeah, there will be exit points on Holsworth where you can turn left and get out of that traffic flow, yes.
Okay, to get to the neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not trying to get people stuck all the way to San Antonio before they have to get back. There will, by necessity, be certain closures. Other things will be open and more free movement. We also will anticipate that a lot of the signs, rather than a full road closure, will simply say road closed except for local area traffic. And so it'll say local traffic only on those signs. People can still go past those signs that live in the neighborhoods. We want you to be able to get back home.
Okay.
And again, there's just a couple of images of the maps here. What you will see is that we've divided into some quadrants, trying to direct a lot of traffic out Thompson Road, again, going all the way around to Harper to exit, using the similar traffic patterns that you see on July 4th here. Same thing, we want to, as much as possible, use some alternative routes, Cypress Creek, the 534, other ways and avenues to get people towards what we believe will be their direction of travel towards San Antonio and on to Comfort and other places.
So is Thompson Drive going to be open? Because if I remember correctly, during 4th of July, don't they close off Thompson Drive?
We are going to close it at the park entrance. If you kind of picture it that way, it will be closed there at the park entrance, but the rest of Thompson Drive will be open for traffic flowing out towards the bridge.
Okay.
Again, here just a kind of an image of where that cutoff will occur for that contraflow lane, and then the rest of the traffic proceeding on to I-10 and places beyond. And then I'm going to let Chief take over for the rest of this, and I'll go sit down unless you have more questions.
Around the mall and Office Max and the little H-E-B there, is that going to be controlled by anybody for parking?
Yes, not necessarily for parking. For access to and off the roadways, yes, but not for parking. It's up to those local area businesses to be open as they normally would, or to close if that is their preference. Right now, we have anticipated, and in speaking with all the businesses, we anticipate those locations being open. There are a few businesses that I think, smaller businesses with fewer parking spaces, that plan to close off, but for the most part, we've anticipated having those spots available during the time of the event. We would encourage people, again, to get there by 10 o'clock and get in place, because we'll start implementing some of these traffic direction measures starting at 10 o'clock and kind of proceeding on until the totality.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, this map is very helpful to see, you know, where you can go and what's going to be blocked off. Is that going to be available for the public too?
Yeah, as of today, it's going to be released to the public. I will kind of commend Chief McCall for a lot of thoughts on this map that I even, you know, in all my years have never would have come to. So he's put a lot of time, attention, and effort and energy into this. I think we've come up with a really good plan because of it. I think it'll be effective as long as we get the people in place in time and then can divert them and make them go the direction we want them to go upon the conclusion.
Where can people go to view this if they want to know how to best get around town at that time?
I'm gonna let Chief talk to that one real quick.
Sounds good.
So we have been working on this plan. As I said, the Kerrville Police Department, along with TxDOT, and Streets Department, have been working on this completely to get that. It just posted today. About 4:30, we got on KerrvilleEclipse.com, and you will see maps. And when you click that, not only will you see the city traffic one with much more slides than this, showing each of the individual, what they posted earlier this week on social media, but you'll also see the county traffic map on there. And so we're trying to get that information out at this point. Want to do a little recap for the emergency management component. As before, as I've mentioned before, our planning is going to 3 times the population increase, not only for the city, for the county. So that's 150,000 guests in the county. Kerrville is the hub. We have the restaurants, the food, the fuel, all the other resources. So we do expect a large influx of guests coming to our town. There are some estimates that were higher. I still do not believe those estimates. They didn't have any correlation in regards to, other than it was a great article, it's a great story, and it made national news, so there we go. But this solar eclipse is 100 miles wide. It goes from the other side of Junction to the other side of 410 and I-10. What you need to do to enjoy this is get into totality, not center line, just totality. And so that is anywhere in San Antonio, right around the Rim shopping area, 1 minute and 20 seconds. So you will get to experience this. Lots will get to experience this. Doesn't take away that we're going to get a lot of people in Kerr County and Kerrville, and that is what our planning is around. Community Lifeline, so we have, definitely proud to say, so we have closed them out. We are now working on an incident action plan and the final components of what we've done. We have addressed every different direction, working with technical experts in each one of these. For example, energy, we've talked to KPUB, we've talked to our fuel vendors, we talked to public safety fuel vendors. So we worked these out, these mitigation components of the community lifelines, and we'll be utilizing them throughout the event, monitoring these to make sure if we can stabilize the community lifelines in any emergency, that ensures government is going to be back online, businesses will be back online, safety and security of our citizens. So these are the basic needs of what we can do out there. And so we are prepared 100% of what we have done for the planning purposes. Now, planning is everything except come April 8th. So we have a lot of things that we're watching, and we'll be watching very closely, I assure you, during this event. Community planning, really the biggest piece now, as we've been putting our messaging out through the month of March, is the community planning, really looking at the impact late Sunday, focus on Monday with a large number of guests. Preparedness is the key. That's the key with any emergency of what we do. The basic needs, food. I don't need two weeks of food. But you do need food to make sure you get to Wednesday. So that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's 3 days of food if you're going out. You don't have to buy and you don't have to freeze 50 pounds of meat. It's not that event, but give them time to restock at the stores. And so to say I'm going to be on Tuesday, they need a little time to restock. We've been working directly with HEB. We've been working directly with Walmart. They have a plan. They have a very good plan to keep this inventory in there. So we're looking at that. We've been working with them. Water, making sure that you have water. You should have water now. If you have a problem at your house, a minor emergency where you don't have water, what's your drinking source? So make sure you have drinking water at your house. Fuel. Fuel is my biggest message next week. Come Wednesday, please fill up your vehicles. At that point, you don't need trash cans full, just a vehicle will be fine, and that will get enough in Kerrville, good old Kerrville. That gives us a full week of driving around town. Because remember, if we take all the fuel, then our guests will be here another day to get more fuel. So do be mindful of that. Medications, that's just if you have medications and you need those, and you look at your inventory of the meds, and you may be out on Monday or Tuesday, just encourage you to get those a little bit early. Cash is important. As always, we don't carry as much cash as we used to, but carrying a little bit of cash around, that if people are doing business with cash or they're using cellular service and we do get some disruption there, they may not be able to perform those exchanges. So do carry some cash on you. Not large amounts, you just do need some cash. Because when we talk about cellular disruption, I think I'll talk about that in a second. Limit travel on Monday. Not that you can't go around town. Reschedule your appointments though. If you want to go enjoy the festival, you're welcome to. Once again, I see Kerrville, growing up here, and I think Mrs. Jennings was my teacher back in the day, also English teacher, so I do believe so.
Mine too.
But we get spoiled to this, so we want to park close. I want to park as close as I can to the event, but we go to San Antonio and then we walk for miles to go see something at the Alamo Dome or downtown. So there's an opportunity to bike, there's an opportunity to enjoy the river trail, to get from any part of Kerrville down to the event. If you do that, you'll just have to get some comfortable shoes, a bike, and then do a little bit of walking for the day. It's going to be a beautiful day, so it will be a great day to be out. Recommend restaurants. We're definitely recommending. We had a conversation with them a week or 2 weeks ago about our restaurants and mercantile businesses to remain open during the event, kind of showcase what we have. Our restaurants are key to our critical infrastructure. They provide the food, the other meals. We're just saying kind of keep it simple, but continue to remain open over the weekend, definitely on Monday. We have a local map and community guide for guests. So we have a local map that's emergency numbers. Actually have first draft here that we're just getting wrapped up, and we will have those out, and they will be available for citizens to pick up, download online, and they will be able to know where to go to the hospital. So what's the address of the hospital? People that come to our community may not know. Sometimes we rely on cellular service, and I won't know where that is. Where's those H-E-B? Where's Walmart? And so that's going to provide those key information for them. So it's a good map. It's one of those, like a little bit like a Six Flag map. So it gives some of the key things that you're looking for in emergency. Where's the first aid, the other AEDs, other components like that. And once again, enjoy the festival and our community. Just expect delays. So that is probably what we're definitely going to see. Yes, it will be a lot of traffic at a certain point, absolutely. And so plan accordingly. If you park across the other side of Sidney Baker, so yes, there are going to be some challenges getting back. So we just need to plan accordingly as a community. Other planning emergency messages. So we're working with Jam Broadcasting to have our emergency messages there from 94.3, 99.1, and 103.7. So they'll be coordinating with us to get emergency messages out. We will have those out on the hour. Sometimes it may be the same message, but if we need to get something to our citizens, that will be a means to do that. As with local media, social media, we have Code Red with the county, and then the city of Kerrville, we have what we call RAVE. Remember, that's the reverse 911, so we have an ability to contact those with landlines through our RAVE. And then we have IPALS, who are an IPALS approved community. So in the event of a very disaster, a severe weather emergency, something we had to get notification. They're very specific, so we can notify everyone that is in our community by doing some geofencing around the area, and they will get that messages. Same messages received this week from the Amber Alert. Cellular issues, so yes, we expect them, and we're planning accordingly. So how do you contact 911 if you have cellular issues, and that's what you have on you? One, know your neighbor. That's important. It's what we do anyway in our community, helping neighbor. And if somebody has a telephone line, just a plain old telephone system that into the wall, they have a phone to know. So if you only have cellular, then maybe I need to know my neighbor to be able to make that call. Our fire stations will be set up, so they will be staffed when the cellular service would go out. We have an area where we kind of think that may be, so they will be staffed with an individual, not our normal staffing, that paramedic that will be there or EMT, there'll be private medical care, have a dedicated phone line to call 911 and get an ambulance or an engine there if they're not in-house. At the same time, they can provide some basic first aid. And then next gen, so they have the text to 911, so that is new. That came out about a week ago, and so you can text emergency messages to dispatch using 911. So that is a new system that is up and running. And always remember, Wi-Fi will still work. So we're still going to work during this. Our Wi-Fi here will work. So if you have a cellular phone and you have Wi-Fi at your house, you can turn off the cellular. Just make sure you enable Wi-Fi calling. We're not going to lose Wi-Fi, so unless we get the fiber cuts, we won't lose that. So you still have that ability to make that call. That's all based on bandwidth. So businesses will have Wi-Fi at their business. It's just all bandwidth. It's how much traffic they actually have. So your Wi-Fi will still work on there. Stay informed. Kerrville Eclipse Facebook website, kerrvilleeclipse.com. We're updating that now. As I said, the maps are new. That's a couple hours new. We have that up, and we're going to get some more information on there too to download. Instagram site. And then with that, questions for all three of us?
You mentioned weather.
Weather, yes, ma'am. So weather's gonna be great, so, but we are working with our local Dr. Doppler. So, he will be in with us as with the National Weather Service, so he's gonna be with us a week early and start giving us those weather updates as we get closer. And also, he's important to be in there just in case, we'll say the unlikely event, we get a severe storm coming through, so we do need to be able to notify that ahead of time so we can make sure everyone stays safe with that, so. But it's gonna be a clear sky, it's gonna be a beautiful day.
We can take that to the bank, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am, so.
Other questions, council?
Mayor, council, real quick, couple things to add on to what Chief had said. So city facilities are gonna be closed to the public. However, we are gonna have some people at some of those city facilities to be able to answer phone calls if need be, or to assess emergencies, or, on case-by-case type basis. But city facilities will be closed to the public, but somebody will be there. City Hall, we are gonna set up, we will have an agenda posted for y'all, if need be. We are gonna kind of set up a live TV type screen of what's gonna kind of mirror in the EOC, so that way we can kind of see what's going on if need be. But y'all are more than welcome to come up to City Hall. We'll have the conference room set up if there are any questions, so we can communicate with council as needed. So we'll post it just in case y'all happen to be there.
The day of.
The day of, yes, the day of. Executive staff, we're gonna meet with the chiefs and stuff early next week, and kind of go over the final executive staff and the operational plan. We are kind of treating this, obviously this is a real world event, but we are taking this as a great opportunity from the emergency operations perspective to have a planned event that we can say, how do all the positions within the EOC kind of operate, all the way from the executive staff all the way down to everybody. So kind of more to follow on that, and I'll give council some updates next week when I get some more information. And real quick, I want to commend public safety, and I really want to commend every single Kerrville team member. Last week, they put on basically a 4-day event of just-in-time training, and I'll have Chief kind of talk about what that is. But every single one of our city team members went through and learned CPR, tourniquet, basic, stop the bleed, and just how to be able to respond to the community, since everybody's going to be all hands on deck and working different locations, parking, traffic. And so it was a really great event. The news was able to kind of, cover it a little bit. And I think it was kind of a really great opportunity for us to see, one, the unique team building and just the camaraderie of everybody on our side that is really putting forth a lot of great effort into this. So if you want to kind of talk about the just-in-time a little bit, Chief.
Yes, sir. So, it was a great training event that we kind of put together, working through the community lifelines and some of the gaps we may see in that, you can contact if you call EMS now. So traffic is low outside, I am sure. So our response times will be our normal with extended response times, and/or we have all our city staff, that's gonna be working event, that's gonna be all around town. So we look at an opportunity to do some just-in-time medical training. And so we took that and got everyone together, and we did hands-only CPR, teach them how to do that, how to use an AED, how to do stop the bleed training. We've done that before for city staff, but this is recap of how to do a tourniquet. Now I got my hands on it again. We did basic first aid, we did choking, and then we did how to call 911. What do I do in the meantime for that? Those were some of the training, I think, and it was well received. That really just prepares us all for the emergency, and that's everyone's engaged with that across every department. And so they were there. So where's that opportunity present itself? I don't know, but if I was out at Tybee High School and we were working together and Drew is choking at that point, I can help. I can do something to be able to make that difference when we're out there while the EMS is responding. So it was a great event. It was something that we kind of did put together for the just-in-time or JIT training, and so it was very successful. Thank you, sir.
I just want to say that I think the entire team should be commended for preparing our community for what's coming. And I can't thank you enough. I think you've done a fabulous job.
Agreed.
We all second that.
Yes.
You guys have just been awesome.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions.
I'll remember that on April 9th, too.
So KerrvilleEclipse.com, we have our maps that y'all have provided. Is there a way that we could get that on the Kerrville city website? A little hyperlink or something, in case they don't go to the Eclipse website, they come to the city website.
There's a direct link.
Is there? Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Second one was, and I've heard this a couple of times, just to make sure, when you have events happen or natural disasters happen in gas, have y'all heard anything about price gouging? I know
Not-
you're not
Not for essential
legally
services.
supposed to do it, but
No.
I didn't know if y'all have heard anything about that or not.
I haven't. I don't know if the team has or not. I mean, I know, yeah, we haven't. It hasn't come to our attention on anything.
But it's not the image we need to.
All right.
I think Mr.
Thank you all, and we just look forward to it.
You're good. I was
I'm
gonna say-
sorry.
I just had one question. It was actually for you as the mayor. What are the plans for a potential declaration of disaster?
We are going to, if we need to, we will sign that. I've been in conversation with the city manager. The county has signed it. We fall under the county. And so, Dalton, what else?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, we do have one drafted, ready to go. You know, in light of having to do it every 7 days, since the county already declared one, we do have the ability to do one if we need to on Tuesday or Wednesday. Likely, we are going to recommend it just to make sure that we get the resources and we get everything. Come April 9th, we will have a renewal for that disaster declaration because it'll be the 7 days. And in that way, if something does happen over the weekend, for whatever reason, City Council will have the ability to renew that for another 7 days if need be.
So that's potentially, because I know it's a 7-day, it can't go beyond 7 days without council
Without
doing
council,
so.
yes.
So it's potentially going to happen next week.
We will do it basically right at the 7-day mark, so Tuesday night council
Is the
meeting
7th day.
would be the 7 days, so it'd expire after that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So
Thank you,
it's
Mayor.
ready to go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you again. And we'll all be excited on April 8th. April 9th, that's right, so. Okay, we have a financial report.
Not quite as exciting as all of that, but, okay, so I want to make a slight correction in the agenda bill. We left 13124 in there. I don't know how that happened. But you're actually looking at a financial report for month end February 29th of 2024, so.
So
Date
say
is
that
right,
again,
the date in the agenda
Julie.
bill, yes.
What's the date again?
February 29th, 2024, this is the month. ending.
2/29.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just in the agenda bill date. We caught that, but it was already too late. Okay, so looking at the general fund first, kind of high level, same detail you're used to seeing here. So total taxes, 78,000 better than budget, but remember, property tax is kind of variable at this time, so it'll start leveling out, and we'll continue to track that. We're 96% collected right now, so that's good. Just remember, we budget at 98%, so. Sales tax still running behind budget estimate. I have some more details on that coming up in the next couple of slides. And then total revenue is still 300,000 better than budget. Primarily, EMS is having a higher volume, so we have some increase there. And solid waste is coming in better than we anticipated as well. On the expenditure side, about 300,000 better than budget estimate. Maintenance is actually behind, but we've had some unanticipated HVAC and elevator repairs, so we'll watch that to see how those line items continue over the next few months and see if that levels out, then we should be okay. Okay, a little bit more detail on sales tax. So this is kind of the same chart you're used to seeing with the year-to-date sales tax revenues through February. So these are updated each month. You can see February of 24 through February of 24 are slightly less than 23, but we budgeted it less than 23, if you remember, just due to some inflationary factors and other things we discussed during the budget. So that's what that tax is. The graph is on the left. Through February 24, though, interesting statistics. So 41% higher than fiscal year 19. And the reason I bring that up is because 2019, as we kind of know, was the last, what I'm going to call normal year before we saw the craziness of COVID and then inflation factors and things like that. So we continue to watch this really close, see what the trends are throughout the state, throughout the nation, what's happening that's going to affect that as we get into budget and start considering this for next year. In the water fund, kind of same story we told last month. Our largest consumption area, of course, is irrigation, and our highest tier users, even on the residential Meters are assumed to be irrigation over a certain point. That consumption is 25% down compared to a 3-year average. That's primarily due to just our stage 4 restrictions. You know, those are our higher volume users and also our higher rate users. The way we have it tiered, that higher users are actually paying higher rates, and so that computates into, you know, lower revenue when we have a certain budget. So we're watching that really close. Sewer is still holding in there, a little bit behind where we estimated, but primarily we're lining that up with commercial sewer because the commercial sewer is based on water consumption. So less water consumption, and your sewer is going to go down on the commercial side. Reuse slightly better than budget. Same kind of thing as we saw last year. In these drier months, people are using more reuse water, actually picking up stuff at the plant, picking up reuse water at the plant, which is a little bit different than we've seen in the past couple years. So really using that water the way it was meant to be used. On the expense side, personnel better than budget, mostly just because we have some vacancies that we need to fill there. And then on the maintenance side, better than budget. But we're holding where we are on some things that if we don't have to purchase them, we're not going to, simply to try to keep our revenues and expenses in check. Just keep in mind that system operations are system operations, so it's very likely that we're going to have to make those purchases as we get closer to year end. But we're monitoring and doing what we have to do for right now, and so working with Public Works on that pretty closely. And then this is just the graph that Trina's been building out over the last few months, just showing change in water consumption over different calendar years. And so you can see it month by month, the yellow being fiscal year 24, and then the light blue being fiscal year 23. So you can just see the change in consumption there. And then the March bills are in, and we are seeing a little bit of uptick there. I think the rain has kind of greened everything up. People are wanting to water, keep it green a little bit. So we'll just watch and see how that is, but still using less water than we anticipated at that time. So. Development Services Fund, this was also affected by Stage 4 water restrictions simply because of the ability to pull new permits, especially on the commercial side. But we are seeing a little bit of change in March, and then we have some expected revenues that are going to be coming in over the next few months, give or take close to $50,000 coming in for some apartments, and then also some commercial projects that we're seeing kick off. So we're watching this, and we expect that to turn around as we get more into the summer. So occupancy tax, keep in mind, this is really trending with sales tax, so a little bit of leveling going on here. Overall revenue, $29,000 behind where we estimated it to be, with $83,000 of that being from occupancy tax itself. So keep in mind that interest is better than we expected, just from all the things we continue to talk about. The Fed has held the last couple of times, so we're expecting to potentially see some of those rates start dropping on the revenue side, but that's not a big part of our revenue anyway, and definitely not something that we count on. So, but we're still watching that and seeing how that can help us out. Year to date, expenses are in line with estimates, but that's really difficult given the expenditures related to the eclipse. So we're watching that closely, and we'll talk about that just here in a minute. Speaking of, there's your clip. So a lot of these things Chief and Ashley talked about, but just on the financial side, some merchandise sales, which in park vendors and parking, that revenue is tracking better than we estimated. But remember, we did a very conservative estimate for revenues, just so as we anticipated what we thought the impact was going to be on the expense side. We didn't want to overestimate on the revenue and assume that we were going to make up more than we could. Donations are better than expected. We have had a couple of commitments from unexpected donors, which has been really good. So we're watching that. We have a lot of in-kind donors, and we'll be working, excuse me, with departments to see what those values are, so that when we give you a final report out, we'll be able to give you, what things businesses did to kind of support this event and our staff throughout the emergency management process. So we continue to work with departments. We're reviewing updated expenditures almost daily, just tracking to make sure that we're staying where we need to be and watching for anything unexpected. And then we're tracking all of that through a project code similar to what we did with Winter Storm, so that we can keep that separate in the event that there is some funding for reimbursement, that we have really good tracking of that so that we can turn that around pretty quickly. Just a couple of facts. We've heard a few things in Citizens Academy, and then also some questions that have come in from the community about income and revenue generated from this. And so While I'm not doing any estimates, I just want to give you a couple of facts. So $1 million in additional taxable sales in the community equates to $10,000 in sales tax revenue. So there's not going to be a huge return on as far as on the revenue side. We have 1,155 hotel rooms in Kerrville. I worked with Julie Davis. We kind of came up with some assumption based on what she knows. And so with an average of $400 a night with a 3-night minimum, you can see that if every single room was booked and you know what the gross there would be to the hoteliers, it's less than $100,000 in revenue for the city. On average, short-term rentals account for about 13% of our monthly revenues. And so we use that assumption in there too, and we've just kind of done just a little bit of math. But I just want to put some facts out there so that if people ask what the impact is based on, you know, there's no way for us to know what that looks like, especially on the sales tax side, until the day comes. But we do know what $1 million looks like on the revenue side. On Eclipse, I mean on EIC. EIC, yeah. Yeah, so EIC and city revenues, two separate things there. So March 29th, just giving you a calendar update, we'll be submitting our application to GFOA and then also submitting our single audit reports as we're required to do. Once we do that and we have our final calculations back, then we will update our annual debt on the website and on our transparency tab. That is what's required, actually not required, so Transparency Stars are actually an optional part of the comptroller's program that we choose to do, but that is updated annually. Of course, we know what April the 8th is. We bring into you our proposal for long-range asset replacement as far as a presentation to you as a council workshop so that we can kind of get your feedback and talk through that and the work that we've been doing over the last few years to get that in line. And then we'll start looking a lot deeper at property tax and what the role looks like as we start getting information from KRCAD. So that is our update. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Council. Brenda? Joe? No?
Thank you.
Roland?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. We appreciate it. All right, council, we'll finish off here with 4 different appointments to different boards. Let's start with number 10, Parks and Rec. And I believe Jeff and Joe, I believe you were the interview team. Do you have recommendations for us?
We do, yes, ma'am. Talking with staff and applicants, I'm gonna recommend that we reappoint the 3 candidates that are up for reappointment. Cabe Johnson, Lisa Knight, Solidin, and Russell Nimke.
Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to appoint Cabe Johnson, who is eligible for reappointment, Lisa Niles Saddlin for reappointment also, and Russell Nimke for reappointment. All in favor, right hand please. And they pass unanimously. All right, we thank all of those who applied for that most popular board and hope that they will continue to apply as there will be appointments in the future. All right, 10B, Main Street Advisory Board. Councilmember Garcia and I were the interview team. Do you have a motion for us?
Sure, I'll be happy to do it. We reviewed all the applicants, appreciate them applying, and at this time, I'll move to appoint Howard Taylor to fill the vacancy on the Main Street Advisory Board for the remainder of the unexpired term.
I will second that. All in favor, right hand, and it passes unanimously. Thank you. 10C, Senior Services Advisory Committee. Interview team was, again, Mr. Harris and Mr. Herring.
We appreciated we had 3 applicants, and we appreciate all of them. We would recommend Nessa Kendall for the appointment.
Second.
And we have a second for Nessa Kendall. All in favor, right hand. Thank you very much. And again, we thank everyone who has applied. Hope that they will continue to be interested. Zoning Board of Adjustment, the ZBA, we could go into executive session on this, but we not
There's
really-
a-
we need to.
No. Now, we had 2 regular member vacancies and 1 alternate member vacancy. We did not have any applications. And at this time, I would like to recommend Donald Chute be removed as an alternate member and placed as a board member to that board.
I will second that. All in favor? Right hand. It is passed unanimously, and thank you very much. All right. We are at the end of the meeting, council. Are there any items for future agenda items?
Madam Mayor, it's not a future agenda item, but we had something happen today in Kerrville that has not happened in 20 years. And I'm happy to say that the Tybee High School girls golf team won district. So first time in 20 years they've done that.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to them. All right, anything else for the good of the cause? And at 8:30, how about that? 8:30 on the dot, we will adjourn the city council meeting this evening. Thank you all for coming, and the next time we meet in this
Be a day after dark.
will be the day after the eclipse.
Tim, I did not win.